All right. Wonderful. All right. Well, I'm going to kick things off. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of TM101. This is episode number 34. I know I say this every episode now. I can't believe we made it this far. Thank you for everyone who's been with us from the beginning and who are new to TM101. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. We are joined by our wonderful host, Henry Bordeaux, Mary Jo, Adrian, Doug, David 51, Jim Runke, sorry about that. And we are back on another Thursday to be influenced by power players in the industry that have made a big impact. So I'm going to pass it over to Henry and we'll get this started.
Thank you, Mark. So, okay. Everyone's story of how they got started in the industry is fascinating, and such is true for our guest today. With her trademark personality, she paid her dues within 2 decades and the help of a list of A-list artists, built a name for herself that's synonymous with success and doing it her own way. Please welcome Miss Tina Farris.
Hey. Thanks for having me. Thanks for being with us. Guys, hanging out. For those of you in the room with us today, one of the things we wanted to say is when we had Tina join us for diversity a few weeks ago, we kind of were like, man, we really want to talk to Tina and hear about Tina, but we also really wanted her important input on diversity at that time. So we kind of made a deal to be able to say, Tina, we'd like you to come and join us for this, but we're definitely going to ask you back. And we really wanted the moment to just spend some time talking with her. So thanks to our ever returning students for giving us the opportunity to have a reason to hang out with Tina. And answer a lot of probing questions.
I know, I'm like, let me see all these questions.
Looking for an excuse to hang out with you, Tina. I've like I said yesterday, your personality and style is something that I feel like I've tried to incorporate into my own. And so, but let's just jump into it, because we like to start with everybody's story of how they got started in the industry, and yours is fascinating. Please take us to the beginning. You came from a musical family, didn't you?
Musical family. I played bass from 5th grade, upright, classical, only read music. My grandfather was a producer for Motown. And the only time I ever got to see him was on the road backstage. So some people, went fishing with their grandfathers. I went golfing with him and Smokey Robinson and drove the cart, So I didn't know, in hindsight, I know now that was something that probably probed me into going harder for music. But I'm a super music fan. And how I got started was as a student at UCLA in the early 90s. There was so much music, and I was a part of a group of homies, and all we would do is go buy music in a store where they have CDs. CDs. So we went to the store on Music Friday or whatever. And I remember we bought DJ Quick, we bought The Roots, we bought like just random people just because we saw the cover art. And we would go back to the dorm and do what college students do in dorms and listen to music.
What did you study in UCLA?
UCLA social psychology.
Oh, wow. Okay. Not even anything music related, but.
No. My family was like, are you crazy? You can just do music on a whim. Like, there's nothing for that. There's no reason to go to school for music. Where will that get you? So the Roots, UCLA is one of those schools that has good budgets. Anybody who's a tour manager out there always goes on a college run, and UCLA was the same. And the Roots came, and I had on my head wrap, and I was playing my best air bass to get the most attention I could possibly get. And I did. And Black Thought was like, you should come backstage. And from there, they went to Sacramento. I'm from Sacramento, so I drove the next weekend to Sacramento. I was like, hey guys, it's me again. They're like, ew, weirdo. Like a groupie. As a groupie.
I just they saw you playing air bass so hard in the crowd.
I mean, I was giving a performance, apparently.
Wow.
Amazing. amazing.
Like I went hard on air bass. But I'm also a super nerd, and I would play the bass in school and record it and like send it to Hub, like a geek. Okay. And that was my relationship with them starting from like 94 till 99 for 5 years. You know, I was like the LA weed girl.
That's pretty early in their career.
Yeah. And you know, consequently, like I was saying yesterday, on tours, I have my person in Amsterdam that I go to when I need things. I have my person in Poland that I go to when I need things. Melbourne, I got people. And I was that person in LA for them. And then as I went to grad school, I became a teacher. When we had spring break or any of the breaks, I worked at Compton Unified School District. They were very short on supplies and actual aids to help me teach French. I was teaching French. And so I would go on a trip to France, maybe catch a Roots concert at Lycée Montmartre, come back and bring whatever supplies and utilities and papers and reading things that I got, because I was learning French as well. You know what I mean? I wasn't an expert at French until I feel like you get better when you teach it. And one of those vacations, they just told me I should stay. And then I stayed.
During like a summer break from school?
During a summer break, right.
Following them around Europe and the US?
Yeah, Europe.
That's amazing.
Like I went one spring break and then I was like, ooh, I'm coming back because they like me. You know, those groupies that think that they're a part of the band.
I feel like,
yeah.
But I got to tell you, this is the first time that I've actually heard of one actually make it, and
it worked.
Actually, it worked.
Well, I didn't sleep with anybody.
Well, that's the
key.
thing.
Don't sleep with anybody.
That's the
keep them thinking you're gonna sleep with you, and then by then you have a job.
That's the key.
That's the key.
But over that time, you were touring with him or following him around, helping him out. Like you already had been exposed to like that backstage world. Were you thinking at that time like, oh, this is what I want to do? Or were you like, no, I need to go back to school?
Not at all. Not at all. I have friends who are like, oh, I remember when I have a good friend of mine. Still, we've been friends since 10th grade. And she was like, I remember when I met you in class and you were sleeping on the floor. It was summer school because you had just come back from Tahoe because you went to the Smokey Robinson concert with your granddad. She was like, that's her story that she remembers from our youth. I'm like, oh yeah, I was doing it early, huh?
From what I'm hearing so far from your early years is like, okay, majoring in clinical psychology. Already you're learning how to deal with people, how to deal with people's minds and work in teams and so forth. But then in your time at in Compton, producing musicals and, you know, pulling resources and the best parts out of people was, I think, the, you know, sort of the early formative years of you being a tour manager.
Right. It was the setup. I liked producing and I liked telling people what to do. So that makes, that's it, right? That's the job. Like if you're bossy and you like to tell people what to do, be a tour manager.
So how did you, what did you start to do with the Roots?
I came in, I was going to be the assistant to the existing tour manager. That was the gig. So when I was just hanging out with her, like she let me share her room. So I was able to go around with them. I took a separate train to meet them in the next city because, you know, I wasn't quite in yet. And I would be resourceful, you know, like I just stepped in. She's like, oh, I need something. I'm like, oh, okay, let me go get that for you. And then because of that, she started asking me, her name's Toya Day. She started asking me, did I think it was something I wanted to do? She needs an assistant. It would be very helpful. You talk to these guys, you're not scared. You don't give a fuck. And I remember one of the things that sealed the deal was they, you know, you have a person, maybe a promoter rep who translates for you, right? And we were in an airport. This is before 9/11. So there wasn't big security. There was some security in Europe, like they could check your bags, but there wasn't like something you walk through. There wasn't a metal detector, right? Does anybody remember that on this panel, Dave? That seems right? So when somebody did pull you to the side, I'm a group of Black people, we're like, what the fuck? Why are you pulling us to the side? Well, I know why you're pulling us to the side. And so Toya, the then tour manager, and Black thought they were conveying something, and the promoter rep was very sweet, and she was like, well, sir, we need this. And they were like, Tina, we need your French. We need you to say it the way you say it, because you're gonna say it the way I say it. And I speak very colloquial, ghetto ass French. Like I still do. I speak just the way I speak English. And I think that was a turning point. They were like, yeah, you can handle this. Let's get her.
Tina, I'd love to get emphasis on this story. So to just paint a picture for everyone. So you were around 28 and you had a career and master's degree when you started with the Roots. Like your students encouraged you to go for it. And I would love to see how, just kind of rolling into more of that. There was always women in the Roots organization, which I'd love to hear more about. And
Richard Nichols, who is their manager, rest in power, Rich. He liked women being the balance amongst a group of rowdy 20-something men. The Roots, turns out they weren't as refined and polished as they are now. They too were at a 20s. So the belief was that women were more organized and nurturing and could get the guys, cajole them to do things, versus all of that testosterone where they would just fight each other. Like, fuck you, I'm fighting. Everything was a fight. I've seen more fights in an airport than I can imagine, just with my group, So anybody? No, nobody's had fights in an airport? Am I alone out here?
I haven't had a fight. I've had somebody leave the airport and say, I'm getting on the next flight.
Yeah. And be like, go then, pussy. So when I did have the opportunity, and I did feel bad, like I got to change the world with these students. I can't just leave them hanging. But I also needed to go a step higher in Compton than teacher. Like the way I was having my students activate, because I was a leadership teacher, was to, not take no for an answer, to advocate for their own education in a district that was poorly subsidized because of where it was, because of systemic racism. And I was always getting shit started. So I don't know if the superintendent's office was getting the parents to threaten me, but it was time for me to either become mayor of Compton or leave. And so I chose to leave.
So you ran away and joined the circus, basically.
I ran away and joined the circus.
Yeah.
Tina, so you were telling us a little bit about how life was on the road with the Roots. You had talked about, you were literally doing everything. Like you were setting up backline, you were organizing everything, and you'd realize things had to change. And then you would see, I think Keith McPhee would come into the picture.
Right. Keith was with the Roots before I was, but he, while he took a sabbatical to run a show or something, and I did 1 or 2 events without him. Like, I think we went to, where were we? Like we did a show in Brazil, and I did a show in France, and I was just getting beaten up. I was like, oh, yo, sexism is alive and well. Like I prefer to have, and it sounds really weird, I just like to have a guy so that when I speak Manese or have somebody else speak Manese to get to the bottom line, I don't have to worry about the time it takes to prove to you that I'm the tour manager and I'm in charge, blah, 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 blah. Let me just have somebody that speaks the same language, the language of patriarchy, so we can get our check and I'll go home. So I complained enough for the first month and a half. And I was to Sean G, I was like, yo, I can't do this by myself. Like I had Kenyatta Saunders, who was the sound guy. That was too much. It was just us two and them. And the Roots were smaller then, there was only 4 or 5 people. But I mean, if you can imagine not having a stage manager, I was the stage manager, and I was also making sure hospitality was done. And I was also making sure that people got in. And I was also also, right?
I've definitely been there, as we all have. We've worn multiple hats, and so as you were growing with the Roots got bigger, and you grew with them, and then y'all got buses, and you started to expand. Tell me a little bit about that. The Roots took off, and you started.
The Roots took off. The whole Philly moment took off. We did. I think one of the big tours I'd ever done was the OK Player tour. And we had 7 buses. And at the time, the Roots had a label called Motive Records. And so we had Jaguar Wright, and we had the Jazzy Fat Nasties, and we had, I don't know, there's a bunch of people. Talib Kweli was on, Guru was on our tour, like MC Light was on our tour. And consequently, her manager at the time was like, yo, can you look after Light since you're already on tour? I was like, oh, I can get another paycheck by tour managing somebody else. That's kind of like the bubbling of, oh, maybe she's gonna be a multifaceted tour manager and tour manage everybody at the same time. So we had 7 buses. We paid for everything. Like, we did it all probably the wrong way. But I bet you if you have the same conversation with Sean G about this tour, it was like our set off. Like, we set it off. Like, we did that tour. And we were young and urban. And it was a brilliant, Dead Prez was on the tour, and that was when they first lit the American flag in a venue, and then we had to battle with the promoters about the flag. Like, it was dope. It was a really dope tour. That was probably like solidified me staying out for a little while. And then from there, I went with Jill Scott and with D'Angelo, just my niche of music. I've touched one of those artists, tour manager wise.
So, Tina, could you also tell us the story about when you got to the airport and the tour manager showed up and then said she wasn't coming?
Oh yeah, the tour manager got to the airport and said she wasn't coming. This was my first tour, and she was like, "Okay, well, I think you can handle it. You guys, I'm not going." And they were like, "Wait, you're not going anymore?" Like, she gave guys goodbye gifts and shit. I was like, "Yeah."
That's a hell of a way to get your first tour management gig.
That's the sink or swim of it. You're all expecting. You're at the airport. You're going, and she comes with some gift bags.
She comes
says,
because
blessings. Bye bye.
Right. Remember, this is pre 9/11, so there's no security. Some people used to meet you you could hang out at the gate if you wanted to. So she was like, she came with no bags, like some gifts and some flip flops. I was like, "Where are you going, girl? We are going to. This flight is to Paris. You ain't got no shoes. You don't have a jacket. Like, what's happening?" She's like, "Oh yeah, I'm not going.
You got this.
You got this.
Sink or swim, baby."
So, Tina, who was your biggest influence as a tour manager, and how did you meet that person or those persons?
I mean, Richard Nichols, the manager of the Roots, has definitely steered me in my my patience, and a lot of my personality of like difficult or not, I think comes because he was like, yeah, you're gonna have to step up to these guys because they're gonna try to come for you every time. Like, he was definitely the Jack Donaghy to my Liz Lemon. Like, guys are dicks, they're gonna come for you because you're a woman, and here's the words that you say to them back to cut them at the knees. You know what I mean? Like, he gave me all of that's why I get on people's nerves, because I don't talk like a lady. I talk like a dude. And some people can't handle that. So he was a big influence. Sean G, of course, is a big influence because he was the business manager turned promoter as we were sinking and swimming together. And so, you know, he put me up to all of it. He'd get a new client, and that became my client. Like, how am I going to tour manage 4 different people? We can figure it out. Let's bring somebody else in. Like, he pretty much created, like, Tina Farris tours exist because Sean G was doing everything too at the same time. We're both Leos. We're both bossy, like to tell people what to do and create things. Like, it worked out. And then when Amir was working on Voodoo, D'Angelo wanted him to come out, and I went with him as his assistant. At some point, I've been everybody's assistant on the Roots as well. So I was Amir's assistant. I was his DJ agent. Then I was Tariq's assistant. I was on set with him when he was acting. Like, I moved around a lot in the crew. And so I went out with Amir to be his assistant, to keep my eye on him so that D'Angelo didn't steal him for his band. He did steal him, but he came back. So
Well, you
I
also
got
brought up-
on that tour with Alan Leeds. That's when I met Alan Leeds and Bill Reeves.
Mm.
And I came under the auspice of being a drum tech, because in my world, I was a drum tech, but in the real world of touring, I was not a drum tech. They soon found out that I was not a drum tech, and I started doing merch for him and doing some assistant tour management work. And after seeing how his operation ran and being able to hang with the A party a lot because I was still up underneath Amir, he decided to bring me out as his tour assistant during Maxwell. And so our relationship began from there. And that's like one of my greatest friends and mentors. He's the best. And Alan Leeds, if nobody knows, is tour manager James Brown and Prince and Parliament Funkadelic and Maxwell and Raphael Sadiq. Like, we have the same music. He knows my grandfather. He knew my grandfather's music. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow.
that's my ace. He's
Didn't
like
you
my
work with Queen
blessing, my
Latifah?
angel blessing.
Didn't you work with Queen Latifah also?
I did Queen Latifah on the Sugar Water tour, which had Jill and Erica, and I was the tour manager and the production manager, which was not what I do. That's not what I do. So that was a very difficult tour. That was one of the hardest tours I ever did, but it was the first time I was in a tour that was only women, that was women ran. I won't say it was women ran. That's a lie. Men still ran the tour, were the tour managers. Who was the tour, the production manager for that tour? I think he's since passed. He was good. He was very helpful. But like having a boss, having a Jill Scott and a Erica and a Latifah on the tour, being the leaders of the tour, and Floetry was on that tour. So, you know, the after parties looked very different. It was like we women kicked it. Like, it was fun. It was fun. And Queen Latifah's so dope. You know, she's just a good person. So that was also a changing point. I forgot about that. Thank you.
And you shared with us yesterday, you said something, you said you had learned so much from not knowing so much.
Oh yeah, I completely blew it on that tour. Like, they also wanted something for nothing. You know what I mean? They wanted a tour manager, production manager, which they were just I was like, yeah, sure, I can do that. I'll figure it out. And I did, but I wasn't my best. That's all. And because I didn't know stuff, I learned stuff.
I know. I love that you brought that up. For me, that was so powerful, because it's like you learn so much from not knowing any. Like, falling on your butt means you're learning.
Right.
Falling on your ass means you're learning.
We can have as many. Sometimes I get when I bring young women into my fold, they always want some detailed information. Like, how do you do this? And what if this happens? Or they don't even have a what if this happens, because you don't know it until it happens.
You don't know
So
what you don't know.
I try to give you as much as you can. And I think the biggest difficulty for them is accepting that they're going to fail at something. They get really frustrated, and then they're mad at me, and it's my fault. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is growing pains of parenthood and whatnot, right? But how will I tell you about, let me see, one of my big mess ups was getting to Ireland and going through immigration and not having a visa for Black Thought, who is the lead MC. Like, I went through the list, and once we got there, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't double check. I forgot that your visa wasn't on, or I didn't see it, or maybe I just, Excel sheets, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much. It's happened before, and he was furious. It was a lesson in him going with the punches too, but it was also a lesson in me getting him across the border, and the border people being very contentious and trying to get at you, and just to see if you'll explode. Getting the promoter to come and get us out of there. You want us to perform? Well, then get him a visa in 5 minutes. I know it takes longer, but what are we gonna do? We're gonna go home? No? Okay. Everybody gotta work. Everybody's gotta stop for a minute and work today. Sorry. And I don't do that anymore. That hasn't happened again, right? I know. Like, ooh, let me get another list and double and triple check. And that's one of the things that I think is probably the hardest for newcomers, is following the detail, because you're like, what am I missing? I've gotten into a situation where they alphabetized all of the names and all of the tickets, but didn't realize that people were sitting next to each other.
Oh.
I'm like, so the way we have to do this is we have to go all the way backwards again. And they're like, what? I'm not doing that. I'm like, wait, you have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know about the problem until the problem comes.
Mm-hmm.
And those problems seem easy now, but like, if you take it back 20 years or 30 years when you started, you're like, oh yeah, when did I fail hella hard on ticketing? That's probably when I learned to be a really good ticketer.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's a little bit hard to add into the information that you're going to transfer to people. I can't explain to you what's going to happen when you fuck something up.
Right.
But
the outcome's going to be good.
Right. But it happens.
But you're going to fuck up.
Right. You're going to,
like,
we all do. We make mistakes. We do the best we can to dot every I and cross every T as we're hurtling through space with all of our ducks behind us, quacking, hair on fire. Right.
And not realizing that, when I say your plan B, if your plan B is dope, then you'll be dope.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I really mean that, but them getting through, well, this should have been organized more. Okay. We're going to organize till the cows come home. I promise you.
Yeah.
It's really how you land.
100%. 100%.
So if you know all of the ways to
fix it,
traverse and to fix it, you're better off than knowing how to plan it.
And sometimes landing is really awkward, but if you can land like a cat,
beautiful.
You're good.
Like,
if
that's
you can
the exciting part.
Spring back up with a plan B, and if the faster you get into solution mode in a crisis, you can't. What happened? How did we get here? Doesn't matter. We're here.
Right.
How do we get out of it? How fast can you get into solution mode is going to save your day every single day.
Nimble and graceful with it.
Yeah, as best you can, because you're gonna flip flop. You're gonna flop like a fish for a second, and then you hop up and brush it off and carry on.
And then hopefully there's some other event that happens, because this can get boring pretty quickly. I don't know if anybody else. Like, I remember when I left the Black Eyed Peas, one of the dancers hit me up and they were like, "This new tour manager don't have no what did you say? There's no field trips."
There's no field trip.
I got a field trip. I got a wine tasting. I got something. That's Bill Reeves. I was like, Bill, we're in Marlboro. We were close enough to Marlboro. I'm like, I rented a van. Let's go to Marlboro and wine taste. Anyone? No?
So Tina, here we are. We're around 2004, and you're now definitely the accidental tour manager of the century. And you're going, all right, what else can I do with this tour manager thing? What else is there out there on the horizon? And you start working that, this is the point where Tina wanted to level up. And you called Polo, and you thought about the Black Eyed Peas, and this
Polo,
turning point.
He brought me Fergie, but I think that was not 4. I think I was.
No, this is between 4 and 8. The end of the 2000s.
Right, end of the 2000s is when is also when the Roots started on the late night show, and so the 300 days a year touring model stopped, and I wasn't going to the show with them. I lived in LA. I don't think there was a space for me. I think that was the Keith McPhee role, to do the music supervision on the show. That's how it translated. And I was also, I had some more clients. So I tried out Fergie, and from Fergie, it went to the Black Eyed Peas. And I was also doing artist relations on festivals and working with promoters that I'd worked with before. So I did the Voodoo Fest and in New Orleans, and that's where I met Cortez Bryant. And I think we had Lil Wayne come to a show in Florida, and we flipped it. The Roots, when people who are used to doing playback come and perform with the Roots, their eyes change, like things change for them. They're like, that's when I want a band. That's right. Like Jay-Z, I know, I want a band. Or Lil Wayne, like we were able to play it, and it's to me, it's nice having a band because you don't have to plan anything. If you're a true musician or you have, I mean, I didn't know Lil Wayne's music, but all I know is he has charisma just coming out of his eyeballs, right? Like he's a rock star. Like Lil Wayne is a rock star, right? I don't know other people that are that rock starry, maybe Kid Rock. Like those are rock stars because they don't have to do nothing. And people just want to see them and hear them and hang on every word. And he came out and he was like, yeah, I caught the show before. I liked how you do that. I want you to come tour with us. And that was also something Sean G was doing. So it was another Sean G. Okay, let me throw my tour manager out there for you. And so that's when I started working with Lil Wayne. And so I was juggling Fergie, then she was done. And then Lil Wayne came out, and then I think he went to jail. And then the Black Eyed Peas had their world tour, and then I did that. And then Lil Wayne got out of jail, and we did another tour. And then Nicki Minaj was on that tour because Young Money was on there, and so on. So I moved with the family of entertainers that I was with. So if I was with you with one of your side groups, I'm going to become a part of your big group. If I was with you with a big group, then I become a part of the side group. And that's how my career has gone. You know, like now I'm with the internet, but I also go out with Sid or Steve Lacy, or I'll build that team, etc. So that's how I've moved. Anytime I try to move into another realm, it doesn't work well. Like I said, I didn't know Lil Wayne music or anything. And he didn't know me. That even though I was his tour manager. When he knew I was his tour manager, I had opened a dispensary in California. I was like one of the first landlords whose space was zoned to be a dispensary. And so he was in town, and his road manager, his A-party road manager was like, yo, we need to get Wayne some weed. And I was like, oh, you should come to my dispensary. And so I set it up so he could come over to the dispensary. And Wayne said, wait a minute, my tour manager has a dispensary? Who is this tour manager? I've never seen it in my life. And that's when I met him, like officially. Like he saw me in the wings of the tour before, but that day was when it was like, oh, hey. And he calls me Miss Tina because, you know, he's a Southern boy. It's like, hey, Miss Tina.
So
like, welcome to my dispensary.
Amazing. That's so great.
You mentioned there about Playback, and I want to just circle back onto that because that's something that's come up like 3 or 4 times since we chatted. For those that are watching that don't know what Playback is backing tracks, basically. And you would be surprised how many artists perform with Playback. It doesn't mean just backing tracks. It doesn't mean you're miming. A lot of artists integrate it to assist with the sound or put in some extra instrumentation that they can't perform with. Like you made a good example yesterday, Tina, horn section. If you can't afford to, or it's not reasonable to take your horns on the road with you, you can put them on Playback.
Backing vocals.
Right. But tell us about your strong feelings on Playback, because I'm with you here 100%.
I discovered Playback with the Black Eyed Peas. I was, I didn't know that it existed, and something happened. And when the Roots mess up, they play like a rewind song, like, okay, let's start it again, and then they go back. And I hadn't heard somebody do a Playback mess up. So when it messed up, I was like, why didn't you guys just do it again? And Apple the app was like, cause we couldn't go with the Playback. Like it's already started, so you got to just keep going. I was like, oh, but you have a band. It's like, yeah, I know. I that's my answer. Like I was like, oh, well, this is weird. So we have to re-record things if we want it to be live, or we have to play with what we are. So then that another learning stepping stone is like, oh, now we pre-record something differently in studio and then bring that as the playback so it sounds live. So you're not just playing with the stems from the song.
Right.
That's what
and Tina,
now they don't do that at all. Now they're just like, give me the album track and we'll just play exactly with the album.
And what else comes with Playback, Tina, that you love so much? Your favorite 2 words. Come on, light it up.
I
Fucking time
hate
code.
time code. It is systemic racism. Period. It's the corporatization of music. Fuck time code. You don't have rhythm, fuck you. You have to do the lights properly. It's about
So
rhythm,
funny.
not about ease and time code. Sheesh.
That's really funny.
You should get paid less if you have to work with time code.
So we talked a little bit about yesterday.
Dave, I see you shaking your head. What? I mean, what? No?
And why take a band as well? If you have time code, why are you also carrying around a band and text?
Yes.
You know why? Because we're so into making this artist with nominal freaking talent look good. Ooh, yeah, I said it.
You know what though? Like we were talking yesterday, I've worked with a band that has tons of stuff and people think they're on time code and it's all organic and all live. Like you're saying, like the bands you work, like it's like if they can do it, like you said, I kind of agree. I don't kind of agree with you. I agree with you.
I just feel
I
feel
like just learn better, like get better.
Well, I mean, in defense of things that need time code, when you're trying to trigger video, I mean, when you're doing an organic analog show, but that's the thing. When you're doing
an analog show, yeah.
When you're doing an analog show, that's one thing. But when you are so digitized and you've got to have, and remember, a lot of time code has to do with the variance and the lag between what's triggering at front of house and when the video and the lights and the laser need to hit that one cue.
I get why, but
that's
cover your nominal.
I sort of agree with you though. If you have an actual band, like an analog band, like it's different from if it's electronic. And it's all running.
It's funny that we have to use the word analog for band.
And I know, right?
A band is a band.
Right.
The rest of that shit is a computer.
That's
but I get it. But you know why? It's because, when people pay this price for a ticket, they want to see a show. Well, why the fuck are people paying that price for a ticket? That's all I mean by it. It's the commodity.
And that's a whole nother
so now the
webinar.
Artist becomes this big again. And everybody else is making money off of this product and putting it on him like, well, we got to sell tickets. I got to have my boat.
I don't know.
I need my Tesla. So I'm sorry. If anybody has a Tesla, my bad. I get it. I live in South Central LA still. You know what I'm saying? I don't live in the Encino Hills. Like, it's the foam surfboard.
So yesterday, Tina, we were chatting yesterday about the ways that people move about and the different parties in the A party, B party, C party, and how you, again, with the Roots, it's so family oriented. Everybody's in the same hotel. You guys aren't compartmentalized. And we talked a bit about how the Roots traveled as a family and when it was that you first kind of discovered that there were separate parties and how you kind of organically came to understand that things weren't always all everybody hunky-dory family time.
We were all A party, but like the crew, our buses were called Gryffindor and Slytherin because the crew Questlove bus were video games and nerds. And then the Slytherin bus was like drinking and smoking and partying. I'm like, is that what you mean by A-B party? Oh, you mean. But when I discovered the A and B party, like the fact that I didn't have to deal with Lil Wayne, I dealt with the band and everybody else, I was like, oh, this is genius. Okay, great. I just need to tell one person. And Lil Wayne is so easy. He doesn't even want to be in his dressing room, right? So it was easy to cut down the dressing room for him because I'm like, oh, this is just fluff. This is production manager shit. This is like everybody else's shit. He literally brings the bus into the back of the stage, gets off, gets on stage, gets back on his bus and leaves.
I can attest.
Like, what is this brilliance?
we did a show at Shoreline and y'all played right after us. And I don't know if you were with him or you probably weren't with him, but he literally came into the backstage in a vehicle, walked on stage, went right back to the
fuck
vehicle.
Out of there.
He was gone.
What?
Never even saw him.
Class. That's classy right there to me. That's high level classiness. And that means like the division is clear, right? Like he's the star and we all work for him. If nobody knows that, then, you know, consequently, those people that didn't realize that got left off because it was easy to see who was spending all the money, right? Because it's not him.
Right.
You know, I could get a pound of weed and never see him again until it's over. So that, yeah, that Lil Wayne was very helpful. And then when I got to Black Eyed Peas, that was my first endeavor in pop world and management that was different, management that was, you know, what I've been leading on to, this corporatization of the artist type, because everybody, that was the first time I realized that agents were kind of grimy. Like, wait a minute. If I count all these seats, this doesn't add up to my seat count. And how come these seats are better? And wait a minute. How did you sell me on this? Like, who made this deal? Oh, you guys are in cahoots. Got it. And so then I started changing my whole vision on, like, with the Roots, I was a part of am a part of management. And these other ones, I'm not. And so it's like that tour manager in the middle thing was really hard. And I'm an artist person and I spoil them. And that doesn't fare well all the time because everybody wants to be spoiled.
Tina, yesterday we talked a little bit about that fact that you are a true artist representative, and that sometimes can put a little bit of a notch in the you know, a thorn in the side of management, and you had an adversarial experience. And we talk about that a little bit with our gang, you know, how you get around those. Can you expand on how you navigated that period, how that went down for you, and share a little bit about that?
You quit, you get fired.
Right. In this case, we were talking about
like who hired who, right? If it's a good old boys club situation and she's the problem because she's not going to play on our team, then they start squeezing you out. That happens. It just happened. Like, and then that's when you see really how systemic racism works within the whole organization. It's like, if you're not playing, you know, my grandfather got jacked from Motown as well. So I also had that in my head all the time. I always think that somebody's trying to take advantage because it's an exploitive industry, right?
Right.
And so if you're not hiding it well enough or you're letting the artist know too much, then you're not on the side in certain management groups, right? And thus things get ignored. The last thing that I was on, I complained about a guy who was super toxic. I complained about, I showed them proof of getting threats from somebody, and those people are still on the road and I am not. You know, like, I was the problem because I called it out, right? Like, the Me Too thing hasn't happened really hardcore yet in music because we're still very protective of everyone, which I get it. I get that too. But man, when it is.
Yeah, there's movement. There's movement.
And it's not about make sure you hire women because women do it. Like, I still build teams, and I firmly believe that if I have to hire 3 women to do something one guy will do, then I don't want to do that either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes sometimes I want a utility guy because I want a utility guy. It's not because I'm being discriminatory. I just want somebody who has muscles and is gonna just do it. If that's a woman, cool. But I don't want to have to hire 3 people to do that one job. I'm not saying that always happens. I'm saying I have that experience where that was a request. And I was like, like on my other squad though, I got a whole team out doing it and nobody's asking for extra shit that I can't pay for. And I also believe in guys having their privacy or girls having their privacy and doing what they do and getting down on tour, because that's what you do too. You're away from home. I don't feel like inserting somebody into something just because. That's not necessary.
Right.
But I also don't like to play the production manager, tour manager game. Like that.
Can you talk a little bit about that game?
I have an NDA. I'm sure if somebody's watching right now.
Well, a little bit, a little bit about sometimes when production and the artist side of things sometimes don't always gel, and how we have to do that dance a little bit.
Well, yeah, like I want to give the artist what he wants. all the time, what he or she wants all the time. I want to tell them the ways that it best works too. I'm not, a crazy person, but I don't want to compromise their art for my ease or for the team's ease. Like, we're there to support this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to support how easy it could be for us, right? So if I want to add somebody, if this is your LA show and you want to add 5 different guys, but we can't do it because we have to reprogram everything because time code. Like, well then fuck time code, yo. Like, we gonna have Too Short on stage. We gonna have, Rick Ross on stage, and they ain't coming to rehearsal. They're gonna jump on stage, and the band's gonna play, and we gonna kick it. It's gonna be fun. The crowd is gonna go wild. It's gonna be great because I like making this show. Not, oh, and the show was ruined because we added those people. Like, that guy, fuck that guy. Fuck any of those types of production manager dudes. Like, I'm not fucking with them. And they get me out, and that's cool. But fuck those guys.
And I think what you're saying is the difference between problem people and solutions people. I don't want to put words into your mind, but
no, they want to plan everything out to the very end, and then if it's not planned, the way they see fit, then you're the problem. But if we're doing music, we're not doing fucking brain surgery here. Shit's supposed to be fun.
That's true. I often have to remind myself, like, we're not solving like world hunger here. We're giving people tickets.
Yeah, like, aren't we supposed to be having fun? Like, is your dick so small that if somebody has to wait for their ticket, it's a problem? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, step your weight up. Fuck out of here.
I remind myself
part of to take the changes. Like, shit is gonna change every 2 seconds, even after. You hear that those 5 artists are now being guests. Well, they're going to bring their friends and, maybe other artists. Like, things are just going to change so much that if you were going to fight that, then you need to go find another job. Don't get into this business if you can't.
Yeah.
Because that's what our job is about, is like rolling with it and making shit happen. Making shit happen.
Making shit happen is the fun part.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like that, when you nail it and like, oh shit, all this stuff has to get fixed or happen before the show or whatnot. And then when you nail it, it's like a trick shot of the century. You are like, I fucking did it.
Right. You're out there. You're having a good time too. Yeah. Like, oh, we're not supposed to have a good time. We're supposed to all just be like, the show must go on.
Oh god! So I wanted to take it back.
Well, this, by the way, this attitude is why people don't fuck with me.
So going back to you were on tour with the Black Eyed Peas, and you told us the tour were ending, and then you decided at one point you wanted to go into management. So tell us about that a little bit. I think this is you said the Black Eyed Peas were ending the tour, and you were doing some stuff with Young Money. You were kind of taking management position.
I wanted to have a management position with the management company put together by G. Roberson and Cortez Bryant and Sean G. that did Lil Wayne and Young Money mostly, and got on with Nicki Minaj. And so I left them to be with Nicki Minaj. Okay. That was my start, and that proved very, very difficult. I was kind of, I wouldn't say her first day-to-day, but kind of I was. Getting a management company to support you, I don't know how other management companies do it. I guess when a person gets tired of one manager, you put somebody else in that place, and we weren't doing it that way. And so when I quit Nicki, like, I consequently lost Lil Wayne as well. And then some of the people that I had put on and whose careers I put on ended up going with Lil Wayne and starting that career. So then I went and started something else. I was like, okay, I'm done with that. I tried that pop life. Now let me go over here and stick with what I prefer and people I prefer.
And so after you left, I mean, obviously you left management and then you weren't doing Lil Wayne. What did you roll into then at that point? This would have been around like 2012, 10, didn't we say? Around
I
there?
started doing more curating of shows and more artist relations and more festivals. Really saying, hey, what does tour management? What is a tour manager, and what is my skill set, and how can I apply that someplace else? And by doing that, that's when a lot more. I was also getting older, and I was being recognized as being only woman of color, and lots of young Black women came to me to get started or introduced into touring, and thus I started doing a lot of mentoring as well.
Didn't you do a mentoring, like, didn't you do like a mentoring events and stuff at some point? Are you still doing those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I did it for, so hold on, I'm sorry. The Roots have had a long going festival, the Roots Picnic, as well as I can't think of them. I I really can't think of the festivals and whatnot that I've done. But I started a project called the Queens Festival. I started, I don't know, some other stuff.
Yeah. And then I think you kind of.
But I teach a Berkeley College course.
Oh, cool. What do you teach? What do you teach there?
Tour Management 101.
Yeah, of course.
But with it, I end up bringing people out on the road, or you know, I basically train up the people I need to do other tours I get called for.
But you know what? Just like we were saying before, it's like that's the way. I mean, you can learn stuff in a classroom, but the only way to learn is be hands-on and fail, like you said. So you get to.
I mean, I give them enough, and then they go to I team them up with a cool tour, one of my tour managers or one of my production managers, and they become the assistant for the day. Then they'll help with merch, they'll help with setup. You know what I mean? I like to get people in for load in so they can see what a load in really is and how long you need. And I always prep them to be there early to plan for whatever the fuck up's gonna be, right? Like whatever's gonna go down, why don't you be there for it?
Yeah.
So you have time to to fix it.
Yeah.
Tina, something you said on the diversity panel kind of really struck a chord with me, and you described the management structure of the music industry in similar terms to the corporate world, where once you get beyond a certain point, you're only dealing with white people in a management capacity, and including Black artists. And there's almost a culture of leveling up, per se. If a Black artist gets to a certain level of success, then it's sort of the done thing for them to adopt white management, because that would be seen as,
because white is right. Like that's an old saying from I don't know how many eras of civil rights. It's
right.
White is right. When you're ready to level up, you go and get this white people money. This is what white people do, and it's not like that culture is. That's the culture of assimilation, right? Like, here's the level you want to be at. You want to go to this type of school. You want to do this because then you'll be closer to garnering respect and acceptance from white folks. And I just am exhausted by that. I'll be 48 in 2 weeks. If I haven't impressed y'all yet, fuck it. but no, just kidding. But yeah, there's code words like leveling up, and you get into your artist's head and like you really need it to be like this if you want to be seen and regarded as the star that we want to make you. It's all that shit people talk in every era of payola, of Motown, of Chance Records, where people utilized and exploited the artist, got what they needed, and the artist walked away with a 57 Chevy and a house note and a tax bill. You know what I mean? It's not like people are setting people up for a success. They're setting people up for their summer home. And by there, I mean the management.
Yes.
And so when I hear words like level up and this is what you need in order to be, a real person or really known in the industry. You know what I mean? It's like everybody has their own style, And I understand artists who want to bring their boys or their homegirls with them and bring them up. If I can ride up, then we all going up. Let's do this. There's always somebody like that, especially with Black acts and probably with Latin acts too. You know what I mean? Like, why is the goal to get rid of them versus teaching them? Why can't everybody play? Why you got to put your whole squad in versus, you know, letting Pookie and them learn how to stage manage? Like, what the fuck? Stage managing ain't that hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't like, hey, we can figure out stage managing. We know where to, I just taped down something in my bedroom the other day, and my partner was like, what are you, on stage? Like, what is this taping? I taped out the wires, like, so you don't trip. I got duct tape of every color. Like, I don't know. We can all do it, can't we? I'm not saying it's an easy job. I'm just saying it's an accessible job. And, you know, my cousin can do it too. And I'm somebody's cousin, I'm somebody's granddaughter who jumped up and did it. So why can't anybody else do it? Why do we have to have some sort of legion for people to learn how to organize or build or do some structure? Like what are we creating? Are we not creating here? Are we just still pushing people outside and in a way to do something that African Americans fucking created? Like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not surrounding my whole team to level up to do it the white way. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to encourage my artist to do it his way. Mm-hmm. Yes, there's going to need to be some organization. Yes, we all need passports. Yes, you know, there are some structural things that we need to do to get around in the world. But like, it ain't rigging. Like, you know how to build some shit in your backyard? I bet you could be a carpenter. Let me show you how. You play the keyboards but don't want to be out in front? Let me show you how to be a tech. And why not? Why wouldn't you use that person's come up to bring somebody else up? Mm-hmm. Like, who gets to be the distributor of the loot? And why is it always some white person that gets to be? I'm gonna tell you the right way to do it. Nah, I'm not with that.
It seems to me an issue of access.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna bring somebody in so that they can have access. And if they're bad or they like, we're all bad and we all have to learn. Like some shit's gonna happen somewhere all the time. So let that person get $1,500 a week to do it. Yeah. Why not? If they're destructive, I'm not saying like, you know, Meek Mill always got 25 people with him, but I'm prepared for that. when I know he's coming to the show, I'm like, you know what, Meek Mill gonna have like 25 people. Somebody's girlfriend's gonna say something smart. We'll give them their own passes and their own space. Right?
Yeah.
Chris Rock's family comes. Okay, you know, my family's coming. Is there a space we can put them? Yes, it's my job to find that space we can put them in. And they're gonna have a different pass color too. You know what I mean? Like, we can figure this out. I don't think we have to separate and demean or artificially uplift people. You know what I mean? Like, nepotism happens all the time. Why can't it happen over here? There's a lot of managers out there that got their job because their daddy did it first.
I love them so much. I honestly, my mind is blown because so many times, yes, of course, we're all guilty of like hiring the crew and from the circles that we knew. Mm. And I don't think I ever gave as much consideration to, I'm very big at like training anybody that wants to get into this industry, but maybe didn't give the cousin as much mentoring as I should have because they were out there as well. That's amazing. Like,
yeah.
You know, that's very true. And I just learned a lot. I'm taking notes.
You know, something that I'm hearing too is there's such a big parallel between what you're talking about right now on tour and your experience with the Compton School District. You know, it was like systemic. It's like they don't have available that district what other districts might. There's such a parallel, like, you know, and
well, I'm Black. Like, I don't have to compare it to anybody. I experienced it. Somebody's question on here was like, it's male chauvinism and how can we get over it? Like, I don't know, grow some balls. You gotta, it's here. We live within it. You have to, you know, I talk shit. Some people cry. Some people run away and come back. Some people, you know what I mean? I said this on our diversity panel before I stepped into the P's, and it was very white male dominant patriarchy. They were coming for me. And I was like, I need another person to have my back. And I was going to hire a woman. I was like, I'm not backing down and trying to hire another dude. I'm going to hire a woman. I hired Pam Harris. Me and Pam did not get along. We did not like each other before that. And I was like, I know that bitch know how to do shit. I know she'll talk the same shit I talk, so I'm gonna hire her. And we became friends from that. You know what I mean? Like, I think you hire the person that is good for the job to suit the needs that you need, and then let's go. Like, if this is a battle, then let's do it. But I hate that that's how I'm joining a team where I got to bring somebody in to help me battle.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to put their own people in. Like, who set that up? Who set that up to be the way this thing goes? With music, off of Black music, who set that up? I want to know. I want to know how that became the status quo.
Wait, I want to make a point though, because like out of the artists that you've worked with, to name a few, Miss Hill, Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, these are all artists that are wonderful, but have a reputation for wanting things done in a very particular way. You know, so when an artist is known for maybe being challenging, you know, you have to go to you have to hire a special TM, and so it's like all of these managers were like, oh shit, we need someone to handle Nicki, call Tina Farris. You know, so like that has become like an amazing status quo to your name of like someone that is going to get in there, run the ship, manage it, no matter how difficult or challenging it may be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great testament to your skill, and maybe is just adding on to what you said about you're not afraid to say how it is, but you also deliver it so eloquently that the constructive criticism is what they want to hear, because they know care. And I think that's an amazing skill set that as a tour manager to our students, you have to learn that and your bedside manner and how.
Right, that's a style.
And we each have our own, but take a note from Tina's beat. That's an amazing skill.
But we also talked about how there's different types of tour managers, right? You know, like some tour managers just stay in the office and manage the tour. I mean, I don't know how you roll with Tyler, but I would be all in his face. That's probably why I'm not his tour manager. I'd be like, tell me more. Okay, Tyler, what color wig should we do for this?
That's an interesting study though, because it changes over time the longer you're with an artist. My first year, I never traveled with a party. I was always, I would just set them up. We have an amazing head of security that's almost like a road manager.
Right. Another key to the A party, right? Is get the secure, like Hassan for John Legend was his, now he's his road manager, but he was security too.
Yeah, so I had the tools, but I was stayed away and sort of stayed outside of the A party bubble until about a year in. I was a little more accepted, and they were like, okay, you can come in our bubble. And then now I'm just with them all the time, you know? And so you have to be that chameleon and move with the artist and figure out where that line is too.
Right. It's hard for me not to like, not that I have to ride on the A bus. You know, I like being with the band. I like being with the crew too. Like, I'm also a crew hangout fan. Like, that's who really gets down in parties anyway, right? Like, those are the real partiers. Everybody else is just pretending to party, but the crew gets down. But I now, when I interview, because of Alan Leeds, like, I like that Alan gave notes. My grandfather, I remember when my grandfather came to before he passed, he came to a D'Angelo show. And I was like, I want you to see our show that we built. It's so cool. It's so good. Like, oh my God, this is fresh. Look at this part. Look at this part, Grandpa. And he was like, Marvin would have took all his clothes off. I was like, oh.
Tina, really quickly, will you establish?
All your clothes. But what I was saying is that it makes me like, oh, I like the vision of making a show happen. So I'm that type of tour manager, is also making the show, being a part of the show, hiring every samba dancer in Brazil per show to dance to the Black Eyed Peas #1 song. Like, how about we just hire dancers everywhere? Because my grandfather hired a orchestra in every town for Smokey Robinson. Like, Tina, all the things that you can do, you know?
Clarify for a quick second. We didn't really establish who your grandfather was at the beginning. We established it yesterday, but we didn't really establish today who your grandfather was and how influential he was. So for just
his
1
name
second.
is Harvey Fuqua, and he discovered Marvin Gaye and brought him to Motown and made lots of music with him and Junior Walker and the All-Stars and New Birth, and he was Sylvester's manager.
Sylvester.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. In the late 80s,
Yeah.
late 70s. Random.
Yeah. Amazing.
And he's in a lot of books.
So it's interesting though, because while you didn't start out in this line of work and you became a teacher and you got a master's degree and you were an educator, you definitely, you played bass. And your grandfather, I mean, you said to us yesterday that a lot of your frame of reference for your relationship with your grandfather was out on the road.
Right.
So this snuck into your blood early.
Right.
Early.
Right.
Can you just talk about remembering feeling that connection?
Well, I know I'm always, the more my grandfather, all of his best days were behind him by the time I came in. So a lot of my reference is reading and just being a music snob and a music head, and meeting Questlove, who is also, you know, he's the biggest music snob there is, and talking about doo-wop with his dad, and, you know, just like field trips. We go to Detroit, and me and Amir will be the only people that go to the Motown Museum. Everybody else will stay home. Maybe Kirk Douglas will come out with us, but like we're the heads who go and look at all the pictures and read everything. And so I think because in the Motown Museum, my grandfather's in there, and he's the guy who like put the style together. Like everybody had a uniform look, and he is like, let me hire this choreographer, let me hire this makeup, you know what I mean? So yeah, that snuck in, because to me, the most exciting thing about seeing Tyler is what's he gonna do, because he's so creative. We know the music's gonna be solid because he's dope, but I wanna be in on the creative director hiring. I wanna be in on, and it ain't just lights, you know what I mean? I feel like the voice is fucked up music also by having newer and younger managers thinking that their artist is gonna look great because you got a light show behind you. Versus, can you sing? You know, Tyler also, I left him out of my rock star status. Like he can stand in the middle of the stage and take a break for 2 minutes and just receive it, and just everybody will go wild. You know what I mean? Like I fucks with Tyler, the Creator, in the same way as Kid Rock. I know that's not everybody's favorite, but he is a rock star. It's one of my friends. And Lil Wayne, like those people are, you know what I mean? They don't need nothing. He can come perform in the middle of Crenshaw Boulevard right now, right, Henry? And just everybody will go wild because you have that magnetism. That's what Motown people represented. That's what, you know, Mary Jo, your artist, represents. And you know what I mean? Like they give you the show that's not fake. They're giving themselves. That's the type of artist I like to work with. That's who I want to tour manage. That's who I want to be around, because they're going to do something else other than show up and ask somebody to time code.
Right.
The time code. The time code don't create them. You know what I'm saying?
You can learn how to perform, but you can't learn how to have that star quality, the magnetism that you're talking about. That's unlearned. That's natural. And you know, as hard as you try, that is just within some people, and it's not within other people.
Right, period. And you spend more money trying to cover up the fact that you ain't got it. And there's going to be more people that, you know, try to spend your money to help you say you got it. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's the light show thing.
I love them.
Can I just come back to your timelines? Because by my, like the way I look at it, you seem to have had a career arc that is similar to quite a few people that we've spoken to, in that everything goes this way, and you get to a point where you're working with people like Nicki Minaj and Lil Wayne, and you've reached the real
in the trash. Sorry.
No problem. The real A-list, high pressure arena and stadium show level of touring, where everything is super intense and everything is really high pressured at all times, and sometimes people can burn out at that level. And then I don't know. Do tell me, was it after that, from what you told us, you kind of transitioned and started, I mean, you sought out the internet, right?
Yeah.
Who are one of my favorite artists. And
I mean,
you maybe transitioned into a period where you're working with artists who are maybe not quite at the same high pressure level. They're still massive artists, but maybe it's just a step underneath. Did you seek that out intentionally, or was that a natural thing?
Yeah, I just sought out who I like. I like the come up. I like the build. You know what I mean? I like the build. I think that's my biggest, that's my favorite place to be, because I can build the teams and I don't have to come in contact with those people that are leveling up. Like, that's my most hated place to be. I feel like I've worked too hard to be tested by people because they haven't heard of this, or because they don't know, or even because they don't think the artist that I came to see is as big as I think he is. Like, you still think he's small because you're there to bring him up. You're there to fix him. You know what I mean? Like, that's the part that wears me out the most about touring. And when I think like, oh, okay, I'm getting too old to tour. Like, no, that's not it. It's like, I don't have the patience to get along with various managers and production managers who are always trying to sabotage you and who don't really support you as a team. It's hard enough being on the road away from your family and missing birthdays and weddings and shit, to be dealing with an asshole who's supposed to be on your same team. And I feel like it's a part of it now, like, just like Timecode, let me see who I can box out as a part of it. You know what I mean? Let me see it, if I can bring my whole squad in. And your squad ain't even that good sometimes. Like, who said your squad's that good? You know what I mean? Like, how do we know this? I know who's good because of who I've worked with. But having access, and when we did the diversity thing, it's like, how can we get more people in? Like, I don't know, have some diverse friends. Like, if you're bringing somebody in and we're all building together, but it's fine. But if you're going with the old adage of leveling up and this looks right because these are my friends and we know how to do this for you guys, then I got to take a step back. So now it's like I interview managers. Like, I want to make sure we all think the same way.
I love that.
Which is hard, but you know, I can do some other shit.
You know what else I really loved yesterday, when you were saying that when you're interviewing, you know, for a position or to work with an artist, that you're very comfortable letting them know your management style, your tour management style, what you do. Just like you said, you're very hands-on, you give notes, everybody has a different style. And I loved that, because I think, not everybody's the right fit for a tour.
Right.
And being very aware of your style, like that, you know, to be honest, like, there are some things that I will let management know that I handle things a certain way, but not to that extent. And that really gave me something to think about it, because it's like, you know, you could save yourself a lot of pain that way. You know, it's like, if they just know how you roll.
Like, it's a people-oriented business. It's not, we're not selling iPhones. We're selling product of humans. And that comes with whatever that human has. So trying to say this is the way it's done is futile, because we're dealing with a person. Unless you're just crazy and you want everybody under your control, which that's a management style too. You know, you got to make payments on that boat. So like, you will not disrupt my Mediterranean annual cruise with your shenanigans, Negroes.
It's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but it is in the correct use of the word funny. What you were talking about leveling up in regards of white management immediately reminded me of a Chris Rock sketch where he's talking about, I'm not talking about rich, I'm talking about wealth. And if you haven't seen that sketch, go look it up. It popped up on my Instagram today. I'm not going to do Chris Rock the massive disservice of me paraphrasing it, but funny as hell, and it's true as hell. And that brings me neatly onto you working with Chris Rock and transitioning from music to comedy.
Oh, you mean my dream job?
Yeah.
You mean the job that I would do forever if Chris Rock would go back on tour?
Right.
It's not fair to say that comedy is easier or better. Like when I got Chris, Dave Chappelle was like, Tina, you like this better, right? I'm like, yeah, but you two are like rich comedians. It's different. Like that could be any rich artist. You know, my boy is Cardi B's, one of my tour managers left and does Drake and Cardi B now, Robbie Shelton, and his tour experience is different because she's rich. You know what I mean? So yeah, Chris Rock is the best tour of my entire life. Ever, never, ever, ever, ever in the world. So much so when it was almost over, Chris was like, "Aw, I'm sorry, Tina. You have to go back to everyone else now." I was like, I know. He's like, what are you going to do now? I mean, where do you go from here? I don't know. And, you know, where do I go from there? But funny enough, on that tour, when I was coming in, one of my friends, the agency didn't hire me, right? Chris did. And they, again, white folks was like, who the fuck is she? Who's that? Has anybody heard from her? And one of my friends who worked in the company was like, yo, I just got an email about you. They were trying to figure out who you are. They don't have to show, ha. Like, like we laugh at that behind closed doors because we know what white management and agents are doing. Like, who is this Tina Farris? Do you know why? You know, trying to make sure that I fit, even though they have no control over that because the man, Chris knows who he is. He knows how they eat off of him. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, no, she's the one. So whatever, how it took a minute for them to get my processing going because they were trying to figure out who I was and how, you know, which side I played on. It's like, I can tell you, not yours.
Hey, Tina, let's discuss Tina Farris tours and what is the concept and what does it do?
Tina Farris Tours was a concept created by Sean G. and his ever needing more tour managers to expand his business. No, it came about out of necessity because Sean, like, honestly, all props. He was managing everybody and I was his go-to. And I ended up training a lot of people that came through the Roots camp, et cetera, and training a lot of tour managers, people that you see out in the world, giving them opportunities to bigger tours because I would dance around to the next thing. So like Silbert Manny for Damani and Giovanni Vargas and Jamil Davis from Rebels Group, Robbie Shelton. Like I bring people to the table and then, you know, and then we all fly out into the world. That's all.
Tina.
Out of necessity, because there's always music and there's always people. As of late, I had somebody who was specifically looking for a Black female tour manager. And so then I try to build teams that way and bring in all women on a team. And then when I can't bring in all women, I tell that woman front of house manager, you need to make some more so that we can have some more. So that when you're called to do this, there can't only be one spot. We can't do them all. It's pointless trying to, you know, hold all of it. But if there's a way we can make some people, then I'll find something in my budget, like the runner rate I'll use to bring in somebody to shadow the monitor engineer or somebody to, you know what I mean, to get some jump starting in there. You know, the way we use our budgets, it's not necessary. Sometimes I let somebody come and share a room with me so that they can learn, so that I can put them on to the next thing. It's not that hard. You're not in your room that much anyway.
It's not that hard, and that's the important thing that really came from our diversity panel.
Yeah,
I think we all made a conscious agreement to, you're already there, you're already doing it, but to make more of an effort to give access and try and increase a bit more, improve the level of diversity in our industry, because it's still a massive issue, clearly.
Somebody asked, how do I manage stress? Chris Rodriguez. I don't know. You got any ideas? You tell me. I got a therapist. I got a psychic. I'm Christian. I surf. I drink. I smoke. I microdose. Haven't found one yet.
Incredible.
Depends on the time.
Right. Got a lot of tools, still stressing.
Oh,
We'll let you know.
I went surfing the day before yesterday with my bonus son, thinking I was going to go save him. And the last time I got on a surfboard, I was 10 pounds lighter. So I fell off the surfboard as soon as I got on it, and I broke my toe. I didn't even paddle out before I broke my toe. That used to be a stress reliever. I got to find something else to do.
Next.
Next, it was going to be roller skating. Fuck that up. So if anybody has some suggestions, don't say meditation. I can never do that.
I can't either. No.
Your brain just, when you have a
Can't.
producer's brain, you're always thinking about something you could be or should have been doing. But absolute chilling.
Yeah.
As soon as you sit down and you just kind of try to get into that meditative state, it's like my mind just wanders. Like I just can't sit there and just
It's
let
so
it out, right?
Yeah.
hard.
My body has to be like, probably for you, it's like surfing. Like my body has to be doing something that if I think about something else, I will break myself. Like for me, it's snowboarding. You know, it's like if I start thinking about something else, like I am going to fall and get a concussion. So like, or break a leg. But it's true. It's like that. But that's the only way I can shut off I can't just sit and shut off my brain.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's
And
hard.
I'm really OCD in it. Like I have a garden that's thriving. Even when I'm not here, it's been going, you know what I mean? But it's a project. I always need a project.
Yeah.
So I painted my kitchen cabinets last week. Why did I paint them? Needed something to do. I needed to tape something down. I got whiteboards in every room, production schedule. And then all of my friends are producers too, or event planners. So if I ask them to do something for me, Jesus.
Do you get like spreadsheets? This is what we're gonna do.
You know how you people are. You know.
So you know what? I'm gonna have to send you my spreadsheet for Thanksgiving dinner because I did a running order for Thanksgiving dinner. I gotta send it. I gotta share it with you.
Dude, I put the plates out and I put cards on what's gonna go in each bowl and each plate. But my whole family does it. Then my cousin, he writes something down on the wall so that we know which goes. It rotates the oven.
Yes, I have a spreadsheet of when to start each thing.
Right.
I know exactly when to open the oven door so I can put another thing in because you know.
I bought a double oven just for Thanksgiving.
This is right up the alley of someone posted in BobNet recently that they're using Master Tour to plan their family vacations.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Is it?
Who the fuck's taking vacations right now?
Got to stay on top of it.
I put my whole honeymoon into Master Tour, like a 2-month honeymoon. It was. I mean, what else am I gonna do, right?
But did you make your wife download the app so she knew what she was doing every day?
Yeah.
Like actually, I did.
Yeah.
I use Master
I
Tour
never asked you
as that's a whole nother panel, but I make an itinerary quicker than I use Master Tour. You know what I mean? Like I can make a day sheet, but if I have to upload it, then I'm like, I could have made this into a PDF and texted it to everybody by the time I uploaded this onto Master Tour. But I did make an itinerary for my like 40th birthday party, and everybody's flight was on it and their hotel, the mileage from their hotel to each winery.
Nice. Before we before we wrap, we have a couple questions, but we wanted to ask you. I mean, you've obviously the last topic we were talking about how you brought so many people up in this industry. You brought them up, trained them in. We have a lot of students here that are either starting or trying to level up in the industry. Give us the Tina Farris advice for our students coming up in the industry.
I always tell people to work in the industry so somebody can see you. A lot of people text me, but there's a girl who just showed up everywhere. Like her name's Geraldine. She showed up. She wanted to be a tour manager. She showed up at some event I was doing and volunteered. She moved to California. And then when she hit me one day, I was like, oh, you know what? I do need an assistant on this tour. Thanks. You know, just the persistence, the willingness to jump in there and do something, anything. A lot of times I just have people hang out with me so they can, because I speak with my mind a lot of times and don't tell you exactly. So I want you to get to know my vibe and where I'm going to go. But also I've hired people who were the merch person or the production person at a venue. You know what I mean? Like, you should be, you should work in the industry you want to be in. You are what you do, right? So I don't know, be the ticket taker, be the merch person, be backstage, volunteer at your local Live Nation venue, because somebody will see you because we have to interface with you. And I can't imagine people aren't always thinking about someone they need to do the next thing. Like this is a career where our jobs aren't solidified. We're often searching for them, right? Or if you're lucky enough for somebody to call you, sometimes I get called all at the same time. And then I need to bring somebody and put somebody on in a place to hold my place till I come back. So you should be there. You should stalk a little. I'm getting notes from people who are watching. Stalk you. Thanks, Robbie. Thanks. Good answer. I'm getting the answers from the people who stalked me.
That's great.
Very true.
Stalk. That's the great way. I mean, I should know. I was a stalker. That's how I got into the business.
For anyone that's watching, Tour Management 101 does not condone you stalking artists.
We're not
I mean, it's a way.
Not responsible. But we do hope you find a job.
And then come watch our webinar so you can learn how to do it.
You just have episode 41.
Right. Stalking your way to
stalker.
Right.
Stalking your way to success.
Stalking your way to career in the music business with Tina Farris.
Hosted by Tina Farris and
Trouble.
Oh my god!
Right, what do we got in the Q&A?
Well, there was one from Luciana in Argentina.
Luciana.
Yeah, in Argentina. She said the music industry, especially on tour, is pretty male chauvinist. What's your advice for women who are fighting for their space?
I mean, I've got a caca mouth. That's one way. I don't know, like Argentina, I've been there. There's a lot of machismo happening. I mean, there's a lot of ways to finesse things. I'm a true believer in using your feminine wiles to get things that you need as well, you know?
Yep.
Sometimes you got to stroke some egos and keep it moving. But I don't think walking in and, demanding respect as a woman in your ERA shit, that ain't gonna work. That's just gonna put you behind in the load in. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta get through it. Like I said, I hire some balance a lot of times. I'll say, hey, go talk to him. I can't, because I'll cuss him out and the show will be over. I pick up my toys and go home. Like, fuck it, my band's leaving. We out. Get it together. We don't want to have to go that far, so I'll have somebody else go and speak it and keep it moving. It's annoying, but I've gotten used to it, and it's actually a tactic I use instead of fighting every day, because you will fight every day. And it's not just patriarchy is such a big thing. It's the women do it too. You know what I mean? We talked about how many times we've been considered the dancer, or our passes have double checked. My pass was just checked 3 times last year in France in a venue. And I was like, the reason why I make the pass board is so that this doesn't get stopped. This is the God pass, right? But you're still stopping me. So why are you stopping me?
Yeah.
I'll wait.
Yeah. Or just automatically when I tell people like I work on rock tours, they're like, are you backup singer?
Or I'll move people. Like this first of all, I do the security meeting. so that you see my face, so that you know that I'm the person in charge. That's one. If I don't make it, I'll actually arrange my security to where I need them to be. So, you know, if I'm going to get the most stress during going in and out the back door stage, then I want a security guard that already knows me on that door. Everybody else can, you know, I could care less about. But I don't think it's too much baggage to unpack to try to get everybody to do the right thing all the time. Fuck it. You build your team so that you can get, you know, people in and out. I've also advanced it that way. Hey, we're an all women team. So if you guys have any problems with that, you should get your people straight before we get there. I have a transgender merch person. Get your people straight on that, because we will go home. You know what I mean? Like, you advance the issues and you're not afraid to call it out. I think that's the biggest issue. You can't, I don't believe in the goodness of people. I believe that people are human and they fall short as we all do. So you kind of got to play on human error, right? Then everybody's going to get it all the time. It's something you learn in communications class, you know, like you're only as good as your receiver can only receive. What is it? If I'm sending you a message, I have to make sure it gets to the receiver the way I intended. That's why that when you apologize, oh, I'm sorry you took it that way. No. You didn't give me the information in the way that you wanted me to receive it. So actually it's on you to do it. So I might talk slower. I might say things that sounds condescending, but I'm like, no, I really want you to get it the way I'm giving it to you. So that's how I deal with chauvinism.
No, that's great. That's really, really good. And this kind of plays straight into another question that Michael Morales had, which is, what qualities and experiences do you look for when searching for someone to join the team? Or is it just kind of a vibe that you get from people?
I mean, you got to stay awake. You can't come to me talking about you're not a morning person. You know what I mean? Like, I need you to know that your life, you don't have vacations. You don't have time off if you're on tour. If that's something you're looking for, like when you see the word day off, that does not mean, you know, take off and go see your boyfriend. That means we can get ahead of the next week. That means we can get all our laundry done. Right. like you're working. And sometimes that's a thing. Well, I wasn't going to go because it's my birthday and I was going to, oh, you thought you had a birthday? Oh, you thought you had Christmas. Yeah, no, there are no Christmas breaks. There's like, that's not this tour, but that's just something you learn right away. You know what I mean? About a person. But it does determine if I hire you for the next thing. I will be a bitch and be like, I don't know, girl, it falls on Valentine's Day. Can you come and do it? Like, I get it, Tina. No, I'll be there. Okay. But that's, you know, that's a learning curve. Right. Ravi Shelton asked, what's been my greatest achievement in my career so far? You, Ravi.
Aww. That's amazing. All right. Tina, we really honestly can't thank you enough for coming and spending time. We know that you are doing a lot of things, even in the downtime, and you have a lot of opportunity to speak with folks, but we cherish you, we adore you, and we all just wanted to have you come and hang out with us.
I really appreciate it.
We love you, Tina.
Thank you.
I love you. I'm so glad to meet you guys in person.
Yeah.
We get to hang out. This is like a big production office.
Right.
It's like more hanging out than you would on a tour.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. And to the gang that shows up each week, thank you again for giving us your presence for the day, for the second time this week. We look forward to seeing you guys on Monday. To my co-hosts, thank you as always for an entertaining hour and a half on a Thursday. Always a pleasure to be with you guys.
Thanks, David and Norman, for dragging me in the crew.
Hey. Keep an eye out for updates on our socials across the board. Same time next Monday and Thursday. We'll be kicking off next week with activism. So
ooh, awesome.
I like it.
Next week.
Cool.
Have
a good weekend. Bye.
Stay safe.